What it do, everybody? Boy is back on the grind. One more time, your boy is back at it again, you guys, and try to pump out these videos, y'all. I'll be in the garage, man, trying to make it happen. If you guys don't have your merch, go get some merch. I got the old man style hats. These things are comfortable, you guys, but I'll be in the garage. Hats, lots of merch on my merch website, so I'll post that link in the description. Go check it out, you guys. Got hats, hoodies, t-shirts, man. Go check them out. I got a wide variety of different things, some things pertaining to the car, but this has been my hottest seller. I'll be in the garage, so go check it out, you guys. But anyways, this video, try to get some content out for you guys, little tasks at a time. Remember, I'm trying to just do whatever I can, whether it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I probably can stretch it a little bit today just because me and the wife both are home, the baby's sleeping. But I don't want to be out here all day working on the car while she's inside, you know, doing some things around the house. The house is filled with Christmas stuff still, presents, things like that. She thinks the house is messy. I don't really think the house is messy, but, you know, we're always going to agree to disagree on that kind of thing. But anyways, to make a long story short, I am doing some wiring, long overdue, that I wanted to do when I changed this harness out. I have my original harness right here in this box that came with the TBI setup. So if you guys don't know, this is originally was a Holley Terminator EFI setup with a TBI throttle body. So my goal with it was to make it look like an old school style engine, but just with a newer style kind of look, you should say. Well, long story short, the TBI setup ran horrible on this thing. I decided to still keep the old school look, but just to add the multi-port fuel injection rail and run it like a LS should be ran, but still keep the throttle body TBI looking setup, like the carb looking setup. Essentially, the throttle body is just for air. That's all it is, kind of just for looks and air. So you still has the sensors in there, like the throttle position sensor, the map sensor, or whatnot, but it still looks kind of old school. So in order for me to do this, the original harness wasn't set up to do a multi-port fuel injection setup. So I had to order basically a universal harness from Holley. It's their LS1 style harness. But the issue with it, I wasn't able to run the 3.5-inch handheld because I could have swore when I first put the Dakota digital dash in and tied it to the ECU, I could still run my 3.5-inch screen, the Holley screen, and still run my Dakota digital. Well, since the harness is different for the for this particular setup now, not the TBI setup, hope you guys are following me, for some reason it took away the functionality of the 3.5-inch screen. So I can't run the screen when I'm running the Dakota digital dash. What I did, took apart my old harness and I did some research on this harness. If I can, gosh. So I did some research on this harness by looking at different wiring diagrams and pinouts, comparing the TBI harness to the LS1 harness and kind of just seeing what the issue was. Well, the issue is in the CAN bus. So the CAN bus is the wire that basically feeds all the data back to you on the handheld or your laptop or what have you. So my original harness, the TBI harness, had 2 ports right here, if you guys can see, for a handheld. So essentially it's kind of like a splitter. What I'm going to do, and I don't want to waste more time, is take that wire. Well, I'm not going to take it out right now just because I have all the wires hidden and ran. What I would like to do is depin that CAN bus plug on the LS1 and then repin this one back into it and just see if I can get the handheld to work properly without, you know, taking the harness out and rewiring and putting this back in the loom and everything. Anyways, let me go ahead and take this dash off. I probably already wasted time. Hopefully my son doesn't wake up. If you're new to the channel, definitely think about subscribing now. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, y'all. Mr. Griffin 23 here. Gonna try to get this to work. Hopefully it does. Let's get it. Let's go. What it do, y'all? It is the next day, and I'm in I'm in the kitchen feeding my guy. Oh. He smiled so big, he done spit out his food. But I'll make this quick, y'all. So I'll take you in the garage here in a moment. All right, y'all, I am in the garage, and man, I'm super excited about this, and I am so tired, man. So with that being said, I got great news. I was able to figure out the handheld issue, and I got it to work. All right, you guys, so here it is, 71 Chevelle inside here. I got the laptop working right now, so what we'll talk about first is using the handheld. So this is what I'm talking about here with the handheld. 3.5-inch screen. It gives you the capability of kind of tuning it and looking at the parameters and things like that. It's kind of like a live feed when the car is running of what the car is doing. But it transmits through this CAN bus. So on the original harness, I had 2 CAN bus provisions. Well, on this LS1 universal harness, because remember I switched, and from what I found out, I think these LS1 harnesses are pretty much the same that they use on like the Terminator X's and the X Max and whatnot. But what I did find out, because I did have to take my original harness apart in order to get this unit off, and I'll talk about that more in a second, is they actually all are pretty similar. It just depends on which setup you have. Since I had the TBI setup, which only had 4 injector pigtails versus this one having 8. The outputs on this one, this LS1 harness, is 8 total for 4 inputs, 4 outputs, where the original one that I had for the TBI only gave me 3 outputs, 2 to control the fans and then 1 to control the AC. What I did is I pretty much depinned my TBI harness, and I wanted to take this CAN bus unit off because, like I said, it has 2 provisions. It has a CAN 1 and then a CAN bus 2. I was wondering if the handheld never really worked because I only had 1 CAN bus pigtail, wherever that is. I don't know where it is. Oh, it's still attached. Yep. So see, I depinned it here, and then the pigtail for it is right there. And I only had 1, so I was wondering like why it didn't work. And even with a splitter, because this BIM module, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment too, actually has a splitter on it already of some sort. So, but it's coming off the same CAN bus. When it was plugged into this, it was only coming out of a single CAN bus, not a dual CAN bus. And so, just to make a long story short, not to confuse you guys, I thought, well, maybe if I put the original one back on and I tied it back into the same wiring. And what I found out too is these 2 connections here, these 2 pieces of the harness here, are the exact same wiring diagram as my TBI. So what I was able to do is depin this and repin it with my original CAN bus wiring from my TBI. So it worked perfectly. So I just didn't really know if it would affect it any different by plugging this in and having the BIM module plugged in at the same time. And it would give me the opportunity to kind of mess with it and mess with the tune and whatnot, see if I can get it to work. Because when I initially did it before, it worked. And then all of a sudden, it stopped working because I put in that BIM module. So again, just to make a long story short, I don't want to drag this out and bore you guys and lose you. So what I did is obviously I hooked up my original CAN bus 1 and 2 into that LS1 harness. So now we have 2. So what you have to do on these is when you hook up a Dakota digital dash right there, you have a couple options. Now you can use the normal style sending units where you actually wire the sending unit to your dash and it feeds all the information back that way. So I'd have to do my oil, my coolant, and those type of things. Or you could buy what they call a BIM module from Dakota Digital, which is that unit right there, if you can see it, where it says BIM-01-2-Holley, that's abbreviated. So that module is an interface. So what it does is it takes information from the ECU and it gives it to the Dakota Digital Dash. So, but this interface has to be tuned. Well, selected, let's just say, right here. So where it says CAN bus 1, CAN bus 2. And so they both are, I guess, are supposed to be selected to race pack. Well, I was doing a lot of research, and people have been having trouble trying to run this and that BIM module on these Holley tunes and setups and whatnot. So I actually been reading a lot about it, and people trying to get it to work and they couldn't. It was partially working and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. So again, fast forward a little bit to make a long story short, I would try to put this on race pack and then the other one on Holley standard, because if you have it on Holley standard, this handheld will work. But if you have it on race pack, both on race pack, they won't work. I tried to put one like this and switch them. It didn't work. I tried to put race pack on the CAN bus 1 and then Holley standard on the CAN bus 2. Still didn't work. So the thing is one would work, but the other one wouldn't work. So fast forward 2 years of me trying to battle with this and whatnot till today. For some reason, when I came in, I was going through the settings on that Dakota Digital BIM module. And in the settings, under System, it has a little toggle that you can push to actually set it up. It has a setting for HP and Dominator. It also has a setting for Terminator X. So I just kind of got thinking about it, and I was like, well, mine is a Holley HP ECU, but it's labeled Terminator EFI. So I decided, I was like, well, you know what? Let me select Terminator off the BIM module, and maybe it'll talk to it differently. And then what I'll do is I'll put the CAN bus 1, which is the main CAN bus, to Holley standard. Then I'll do number 2, label it race pack, and then maybe it'll talk to the BIM module. And then I hook these up accordingly. So BIM module connected to CAN bus 2, handheld connected to CAN bus 1. And lo and behold, let's see if it works. Boom, boom, boom. Bam. Works perfectly. And how I know that, oh, hold up, my Dakota Digital is telling me my fuel pump is unplugged, which it is. Yeah, I unplugged the fuel pump so it wouldn't keep priming when I turn the key on. So again, it is working. It's never done that before. They've both never have worked before. And how I know they both work is because this displaying coolant at 59. It's just displaying everything right now. The volts and all that is displaying as it should. And I know this because when it's not working, it'll just say syncing, 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 and then it'll say cannot retrieve any information from the ECU. So when I look over here, it is also displaying the same thing. So 57 degrees of coolant, 59 degrees of coolant, 11.1 volts on the upper left corner. You got 11.1 volts. Now this is kind of trickling back and forth because I actually have it on a charger. Technically, you're not supposed to start the car and run the car on the trickle charger, just because the trickle charger is not a consistent flow of volts. And so I think it can mess with the ECU. But since I'm only putting it into the on position and not running the car, then I think we're okay. So, and plus my battery is shot, so that's why I have the trickle charger on it. So anyways, I think we're good. Now, obviously, we have to drive the car just to make sure that the BIM module is getting all the information from it and relaying that to the dash and to make sure this is working correctly. But this is as far as I've ever gotten before, and everything's working. They've both never worked at the same time before with this BIM module, so I'm happy about that. All right, y'all, so obviously I'm inside. I'm going to go ahead and close out this video, you guys, and hopefully that was beneficial to you guys. I know wiring and talking is not the most exciting video at all, but it's definitely necessary as it helps a lot of people, because a lot of people can't figure out how to wire, a lot of people can't read a diagram, a lot of people just get lost, including myself. So I come to YouTube or different forums to kind of see what people have done in the past. What has somebody maybe figured out, or if it hasn't been figured out, then I at least can gather enough information from various reads where I can figure it out myself. Hopefully this ends up working in the long run. Obviously the telltale sign would be once I run the car and actually drive the car. We'll see if all the functions work. But for now, the dash is displaying what it's supposed to be displaying. The handheld is displaying what it's supposed to be displaying, so we're good to go. The next video will probably be where I figured out the cooling fan, so check that out, you guys. That'll be coming here soon. I got a few videos in the hopper, man, so we're getting after you guys. I actually just came from the garage because I have unhooked almost everything from the transmission. I drained the pan out as well, and I'm just kind of letting the rest of the transmission fluid run out because I'm going to drop the transmission first. And I think I might have found the source to the engine oil leak, and I have an idea on that as well too. So anyways, lots of stuff going on, you guys. Just trying to get in where I can, however I can, with this little guy lets me do. If it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, what have you, I gets it done. All right. So anyways, you guys, if you're new to the channel, definitely think about subscribing now. Hit that notification bell, all the good stuff, y'all. Mr. Griffin 23 in the building. Stick with me. Lots more to come. Let's get it. Let's go.